Helgi, warmest welcome to the Genius Leadership Podcast.
Thank you.
Let's start with who you are. So for Genius Leaders tuning in, what do they need to understand about your background in short? So bring whatever pieces you want to understand a bit of the context of you and Maven for the conversation that we're just about to have.
Of course. I have, from the very beginning, I've always had hard time to say where I'm originally from. But
geographically, you mean?
Geographically,
okay.
So it's always fun to begin there. But I was born in Ísafjörður, lived there for 5 years, moved to Dalvík, north of Iceland, moved to Kristiansand in south of Norway, moved back to Dalvík, moved back to Akureyri, moved to Reykjavík, to Akureyri, and now I'm staying in Reykjavík. So for the past 40 years I've been the most time in Akureyri, but my roots are all in the Westfjords of Iceland. But I've been around, have friends all over the world, but my professional career and my academic careers are all rooted in Akureyri. So I studied physics in High School of Iceland. I studied computer science in the University of Akureyri. I was a programmer and a project manager in a software development company called Stefna north of Akureyri. Was a shareholder there for a time. When me and my wife decided to change things up, we moved to Reykjavík. I was a consultant in business intelligence here in Reykjavík. I grew my professional career in consultancy there for 8 years, all the way from a consultant to partner to a team lead to a shareholder and so forth and so on. Departed from that at the end of 2020 and then founded my own firm called Maven, and we rooted a lot of our values and ideology from this time that I mentioned. So today I'm the CEO of Maven, an IT service company and consultancy firm. I forgot, I also finished my master's degree at Bifröst around 2020 as well. So that's my background.
And you said that you have founded Maven, but you said we, so you have co-founders as well?
Yes, of course.
And all of them are coming from the same consultancy that you work for? Or?
No. One of them did. He departed some time back, worked for a governmental institute for a while before we discussed the founding of Maven. I got to know the third founder, Pétur, through my work for a client for the Blue Lagoon. And when we sat down and took the discussion further, we all had the same ideologies, same ideas basically. So.
And what were those ideas? So you said that you based the whole philosophy of Maven on your previous experiences.
Yeah.
And let's discuss what are those experiences, or actually what did they lead to? What is Maven's foundation?
Well, our core foundation is teamwork. We everything we do and everything we want to discuss, and the values we try to find in people is their team spirit and team efforts in a sense. Of course, we need the hunger for innovation, and we need people to be able to stand on their own feet and be self-sufficient and independent. And out of the box kind of thinkers. You always want those kind of people. So there's no new things in that. But the team ideology is basically what we aim for at the most. We discuss teams, we talk in teams, we sell teams, we work as a team. We want to build everything as a team. So there's the service we provide is teamwork. How we operate is a team. And our metrics are even around teamwork as well.
And that's why I invited you, and we'll get to that. But before we go to the metrics, why is team important? Why did that become the cornerstone of building the whole company?
From multiple aspects, actually. From a customer aspect, you can always say that If we have a team around it, there's a more security around it. There's a better insurance in a sense. So there's less risk. We divide the knowledge. We divide the work. If I be hit by a bus, there's always one who will back my work up, and so forth and so on. Also, just the idea internally that you have someone to back you up if you've come to a rabbit hole. If you worked yourself into a corner that you can't figure anything out, you want to have that capability and that atmosphere that mistakes are okay, the discussion is okay, and we are there to learn from each other. So risk for customers, risk for us as company as well. The capability of allowing mistakes and having someone to back you and discuss things, as well as the capabilities of we can always figure out, because the needs always change in a sense. For customers in our industry, it's never the same skill set or the combination of skill sets that you need to be able to consult or service those needs that we're working with at any time. So we also the ideology of switching people out if needed. We can always seek the skill set from another person to ignite and to push the work in the directions into the right direction. So risk is a factor, scalability is a factor, as well as community. Being around people that don't discourage or don't hurt you in a sense for your mistakes. So mistakes are okay. The one thing that you have to always talk about is that at least the one thing you have to take from mistakes is to learn. So risk, collaboration, and mistakes are okay.
It's a brilliant approach, and I can absolutely see how that is valuable. I've been consultant myself for years, and I know how it's difficult to sell that solution, because we were trying, the consultancy that I've been working for, to sell the teams, to sell the solution in a way, instead of one person who brings a piece of the puzzle to the table. And I know how difficult of a sell it is, because it's of course more of an investment, and you need to explain it. Okay, this is actually the peace of mind for you, the scalability that we build into that solution, and the risk that is much lower for you, because you don't depend on one person's expertise.
Nor do we. So it's both. The risk is both ways.
Yeah, of course. So it's brilliant that you have it, and from what I've heard, it has been working really well.
Yes,
Icelandic companies have received your solution quite well so far. You have clients in different industries, including the public sector, and it's working well.
Yes.
So congratulations to that.
Oh, thank you.
So let's now roll to when we met for a chat over a coffee, we talked about that, and I really tried to grill you down to you talk about teamwork and how important it is. So how do you measure that? How do you talk about it? And so on. And you just pulled out some scorecard and showed me different KPIs and connected them to what we've discussed.
Yes.
And that is something that not every leader can do.
No.
So let's talk about those metrics. How do you measure the teamwork?
Well, let's roll back 3 years though, and begin on what did we measure in the very beginning. What did we talk about in the very beginning? Why did we set things together in such a manner? Why is that one metric that I showed you the one metric we want to watch? And we even went so far in that we had our bonuses and achievements around that particular metric. But we measured, we watched, we created, I think, 25 metrics that we were watching and basically monitoring how, what would be the right metric the right one metric that we wanted to watch over.
That's the data.
That's the data mind, of course. In the very beginning, of course, we had same as everyone else. You were watching your P&L, you were watching your cost, you're watching revenue by your
billable hours.
Billable hours, and how is your margin according to the projects and services, and you are watching over what is your overhead cost and overhead cost per employee count, and so forth and so on. So all of those metrics were, of course, in our data set in the very beginning, and we did also. We also have contractors. We also envision them as part of our team as well. So there were probably 20-25 metrics that we were monitoring in the beginning. But there was a metric that we created very early on because we discussed, okay, what is the metric that we and our employees in the future will be able to control? What is the metric and what is the thing that we want people to be able, what we want people to watch over or be aware of, as well as they can control. Because from prior experience, we never had the opportunity. We were always measured, but in consultancy and when I was a programmer, our metrics were always billable hours, revenue by my billable hours, so my average time and time rate and so forth. And at the heart of it, some of these metrics are metrics that you as an employee can control. There are variables within those metrics that you don't have any control over. So it's an unfair comparison. It's an unfair metric for your growth, for your career, in a sense, or even your salary, if you want to go even deeper than that. So we wanted to figure out the one metric that ruled them all, in a sense, if you could say so. But the idea that we created was a metric called customer hours. And customer hours is, in a sense, the use of your time. Because our business is based on service, and service we provide our customers. We have large contracts with multiple of our customers in a scale that's in 3 to 5 years in many sense, where we provide teams. And we want to deliver. So how can we measure our deliverables? And that's how we basically are standing towards our goals and expectations. So, back to it. Customer hours, what is it? It's basically a metric that includes both billable and non-billable hours. That's the root of it. And customer hours is the one metric that you can control. You as an employee can control. So if we can watch over this metric, every other metric around or after that are a variation of it, the other one. So how much are non-billable hours? Percentage of customer hours, of non-billable hours or internal work or at that within customer hours, that's a metric. Portion of the hours that are billable towards the internal of customer hours, that's a metric, and so forth and so on. So customer hours is the one metric that rules them all, that we even set our goals to. Not only do we do it as such, but we also do it in a manner that we set goals, and it's also fun to say that the reason for me being late for the podcast was actually because we had a staff meeting discussing our progress for our yearly progress. So the point basically being is that we want to set up goals and reachable goals. And the reachable goals are based around customer hours. Both personal goals and team goals. And we also divide the setup in such a manner that if I as a person reach my goal, I get a compensation. And we as a team, if we reach a goal, we as a team have a compensation.
So I'll pause you here. How is that connected to like the dots? So once me, Anna, I've reached my goals, and I want the bonus for the team reaching the goal as well. How can I help my team players to reach their goals?
That's the fun part of it. That's where the team spirit mind actually comes into play. But there is a compensation. There's a team compensation. If you see that your personal goals are being met, but you see that the team metrics are not being met, the ideology is that you divide your work, allowing people to rise up to their capabilities. So rather than being so, let's call it arrogant or self-sufficient or selfish actually. Greedy. Rather than the person being greedy or selfish on what they own and the work they have, it's more an ideology of okay, I can share my work, I can allow others to step in because I have more than enough, because we as a team can reach our goals, and we'll compensate as a team, rather than me just being a hoarder or for my work, and I'll do my work and on to the future. So that's basically what it is. And yes, we have dashboards, and yes, we have KPIs, that relatable KPIs around it, and yes, we want people to log in and watch over their KPIs and so forth and so on. But not only that, we have of course other stuff as well. When you reach these goals, and how can my career grow within Maven as well? It's just an idea if you want to go there as well.
Yeah, I do want. So let's pause with the career development. We'll get back to that. I want to stay a bit more on the team. So let's roll back. Team is the focus, front and center of Maven. How is that used in the process of hiring people? So how do you describe it in the job postings? Or I've experienced that actually. That's how we met with you. An acquaintance of mine was like, "Hey Anna, this is a cool company. Do you want to be a part-time involved there?" Because you had an opening.
Yes.
So that's how we met originally. Even though you filled the position before we actually met, but that was the reason for us to connect. Yes. Yeah. So I want to talk about that. How you actually showing that's an important part for you in the job postings, and then I want to go into the hiring and onboarding.
Yes.
So let's talk about the job postings.
Job postings. For job posting themselves, there aren't any specifics in the job application or the job description that we talk about teamwork. I'll say it as such. But of course, we say that it's rooted in our culture and so forth and so on. I mean, the advertisement is us as a group taking a selfie and stuff like that. So there's always the fun part, and the atmosphere has to be fun as well. But there is a question. There is an extra question we used Alfred a lot. There is an extra question. There are questionnaires that you have to go through. I think there are 9 questions, extra questions when you go through our. And some of them are basically around that. What are you proud of? What is your favorite holiday? How do you see your favorite holiday? Is there any work that in the past that you're really proud of? And as such, what do you know about us? What makes you a valuable team member is actually a question. And from those questions, and of course from your hobbies and so forth and so on, we find the match that we want in the end. So
if my hobby is knitting and crocheting, would I have a chance?
Yes, of course.
So
hobbies are not, of course, not the deciding factor in the end. Okay. But of course, it always gives you, if you have hobby, it's more the idea. If it's more the idea, I don't have any hobbies. That would strike you as you would ask questions. But of course, it's more in a sense that I have some hobbies, and your hobbies relate to your days off, and etc. etc. Those are the things that you look for. But the hiring process is a teamwork. The hiring process that we've set up, and we've developed it through multiple hires over the past 3 years. And what we do in the very beginning, we have a skill matrix that we basically review all of the applicants. We cut it down to probably half of it and put them into a skills matrix or skill questionnaire internal, where we review the CVs and the questions and so forth, and basically giving them and grading them. You then have maybe top 10, maybe top 5, depending on the size of your pool, and those are the ones who come in for a questionnaire. And we usually are 2. Usually 2 people who sit down and ask you questions, get to know you. From that work, the 2 of us do evaluation again, compare results, do an aggregate of it. We have maybe top 2, top 1, depending on the outcome. And that's where we introduce others. And that's where that's where we thought, okay, we'll swap out one of us that were in the discussion, in the first discussion, and then we'll introduce other team members and allowing them to sit in and see and talk with them and see how they operate. And again, there's an evaluation process, selecting from that 1, 2, 3, depending on the size of the pool. So it's always a collaborative effort of finding the match that we want in the very end.
And who are those 2, and then the 3rd person who comes in the next
phase?
Depends.
It depends. It depends on what type of a role we want. It depends on which team we envision the participant will be in. It depends on the skill set that we're looking for, in a sense. and so forth and so on. It all depends on where we see the fits would actually be best, and who's the person who will work the most with you. On to the onboarding, we use the most famous buddy system of them all, depending on what team and what project you will be taking on, allowing you to work closely around everything. But we have a philosophy there as well. It's the 30-60-90 idea. So what do you do on your first 90 days? And there's always like values to each of the months that we look for. We have checkpoints, so 30, 60, 90, 6 month, 12 month check-in, see if everything's progressing as we expected. We have questions, we see if everything's okay. Are your expectations met? Are our expectations met? Is there anything that we can do better? Anything that we expect you to do better? And so forth. And it's a lot. It's been a learning phase, but being open-minded about there's opportunity to learn in any aspect is probably the one thing that I would always talk about.
So what are the learnings? What would you emphasize here? Like, what was maybe a surprising learning for you from all those iterations of this process?
Me being a buddy is not the best buddy.
Okay, why is that?
Well, I'm busy.
You're busy with clients and prospects.
Yeah. So me being a buddy is not the best buddy. That's one thing. I needed somebody that would be more available. That's a learn. Also, okay, cool. Thanks. Can we do something right now? Would you like to have someone specific one? What are the questions, or what are the things that I missed out on helping you, and so forth? So that's one thing. Being clear on expectations week by week, month by month. How in the very beginning though, basically what do I do with my time? How do I register hours? How do I work with my time registrations, my time sheets? In some cases, how do I log in? So there are all of these small things. What do I do if I have some expenses? And so forth and so on, all of those onboarding things. So today, of course, we have a notebook of all of those things and all of those usual suspect questions. So the one who are coming today shouldn't fall into those pits as people before them, in a sense. No.
Anything else that you've learned the maybe a bit more painful way in this process of either hiring or onboarding?
Yeah, there is one thing. Don't hire people over the summer and be away for summer vacation yourself. That's a stupid mistake that I did. Having someone new at the office when no one's there, that's something I would never recommend anyone. It's a painful one, but it also is when you expect people to be independent and you see that in them, you think that they should be self-sufficient, but the first month are of course shaky, and they are
they still need some support. And
they just need some. Yeah, that's correct. So
you're just getting the vibe of the place. If you're sitting alone in the office of the company that says throughout the whole process that team is important, that of course makes you ask questions.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing that one. It might sound obvious, but it's
it
not.
Might, yeah. And even specifically when you're a small team. And we could even have envisioned it in a sense, but we thought everything would be okay. We had the project, we had everything set up, the collaborative effort from the customer was set up, and everything was there. But being alone, again, teamwork is the spirit of the value that we want the most. This was not one that put it for it. Other ones, painful. No. Everything else is more trial and error and yeah.
Any hire you've made that you somehow missed something about the team spirit of that person? So maybe the person you figure out that the person is not a match, even though your process is trying to find those people who are team players and who will be a good add to your team.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
But we've also been very open about if people want to change things up, and they want. I mean, people have moved around, and people have. I mean, we hire people within Iceland. People have moved around. We have offices in Reykjavik. We have offices in Warsaw, Poland as well. So we have the hybrid workspace is okay, and it works in many cases. Not always. Not always. And that's maybe. Yeah, we could talk about that one. I mean, time difference is a factor. So in a team spirit, a small team aspect, being in a GMT -5, so being 5 hours behind, it affects. Be sure it affects. I mean, if you have only one person located in a completely different time zone, it will affect when you work yourself, it will affect when that person actually has to be at work, and so forth and so on. It creates tension that can be hard to work through. But
do you have any tips what works there? What can you actually set up to eliminate the negative parts of that if you do really want that person and they are really not moving?
No, I don't have any yet.
Okay.
Not yet, because it ended, we actually lost that person. It was a really great person that worked with us for 2 years and did a fantastic job, and we've shared that success story on the project that person has been worked for in multiple occasions and given us opportunities currently, but the problem was the time difference was a factor. And again, independence would need to be at a higher level for that to work better. So, but most likely, in many cases, if you want to have that, you need probably offices, you need management in that location. There are things like that, and those things I've heard work well or better, but in the size that we are, that would never be the case.
That's actually not something we never mentioned. What is the size of Maven right now?
Yeah, good point. The size of Maven, we had our goals in the very beginning was always to reach the size of 15 before the end of 2023. We reached the size. We actually got a reduction in size in the first 2 months of 24, so today we are 13. And we are in the middle of a hiring process right now, and we are envisioning to at least be 14. We are discussing if we should be 15. So maybe we'll be 15 by the end of the year again. And that's the optimal size that we figured out is really good size. It gives you flexibility, everyone is not overloaded or not underloaded and so forth, so it's a really nice size to stay in. And the overhead is not too high, and the management is still, you don't have to have too much of a management muscles in a sense.
So you want to stay at that number? So
currently, yes.
What's the smile?
It's always the cool thing in business is growth. The cool thing is business is size. For us, it's not the size. It's not I mean, growth is of course cool in the sense that we reach the target where we want to be. But we've always said we don't want to be the biggest. We just want to be the best. So that's why
Okay. So speaking of growth, let's go back to the personal development, or actually the career development path that you're discussing, that you mentioned about how the KPIs relate to that and how you connect those things. So let's talk about that. What is built already within Maven for the career path? Is it every person deciding for themselves? Do you have specific steps that every person has to go through to grow within the company? What's up?
Good one. Really good one. When in the first 3 years, we always set our goal, as I said just before, our goal was growth. We want to reach our specific size, we want to reach that particular size, and from that size, the next goal would be stability. And the stability would be in a sense that we value that we reach the target and we can stay at the target from a sustainable perspective. And at that period, we want to grow seniority. We want to see people grow and develop more skill sets and more capabilities. And we were always asked, what comes after that? Because people see it, but it was too close. It was too short of a period in a sense. So we were asked, what next? What do we see? What comes after me being a senior consultant or a senior specialist? What comes after it? So we basically we've been fortunate enough that we don't really have a high churn, so that's one thing that we're really fond of, and that showed us that people believe in their strategy, people believe in the culture, and people are willing to grow with us. So that told us, okay, people are invested, so why don't we allow them to invest in Maven as well? So, and that's where the ideology comes. So we basically have option packages that allowing people, when they reach a particular, when they've shown a couple of leadership skills, rather than them seeking different career paths, they can seek different career paths within Maven, growing as a seniority, leadership skill, and even shareholding position. And that's where the option package comes into play.
You're having data scientists, data analysts, that's the major focus, right?
Yes.
And most of your employees are within that area. I could imagine there are people among them who are like, I don't want to lead people, I want to work with numbers. I want to stick to my spreadsheets and not really care about what others need from me. Of course, a collaboration as a team, yes, but not as a leader. So do you have a path for them, or do they need to leave Maven?
No, we always have paths. I would never say yes, leave Maven. I would always try to figure out if there's a feasible way of sticking. Because there's always this reinvestment that you have to do of rehiring and retransferring or resharing knowledge and so forth and so on. But currently I cannot say it's this path or the other path, because it does not exist. Because we've seen that the growth idea and the leadership people want to, the people we have all want it. So the problem doesn't currently exist. So I don't need to have a solution right now.
Okay. So you're aware it might come?
Of course,
okay.
Of course.
Interesting. So do you think that's actually related to you focusing on the teamwork and having the whole culture built around it? The fact that you don't have anyone saying like, I don't want to lead people, I don't want to develop my soft skills or so. Is that a relationship or a relation, or why does this problem not coming up?
I'm not sure. It's a really good question. I honestly don't know. I haven't looked into it in a sense. I hope it is because of the culture we already have. I hope it is because people show interest in people. So people are, even though we are all sharing valuable life lessons, family issues and so forth and so on, in a sense where it matters, and in a sense where we have the culture allowing us to discuss these things, but also keeping a safe distance in a sense that something is, of course, private or sensitive and so forth and so on. So I hope it is that people see there is safe zone to be in. And that's always one thing that stays behind in the back of my mind, is that safe zone, or that
psychological safety, or
psychological safety is always the one that you have to have in mind.
So I want to dive into that with specifics of the teamwork and the personal, or bring in your personal stuff to a degree. But before we go there, I want to dive a bit deeper into this shareholder or share options. Have you already had anyone progress on that path? So how does it work? What are the demands? Is it the specific skills that are like, okay, once you obtain those skills, once you have these responsibilities leading someone else, what is the path there?
I mean, in the very beginning, we there are personal metrics, of course, similar all the metrics that we mentioned before, customer hours and then you start to swim in the shallow waters of seeing what leadership skills are there. I mean, can you lead a team? Can you have one-man team, two-man team, three-man team? Can you have multiple projects? Can you maintain project management skills and so forth and so on? Those are always the shallow waters of leadership, that you see that not only can I be managing myself, can I manage a project with me and someone else? Can I be in a close relationship with a customer without always asking some other managers and so forth? So there's always that. And then there's the progression of independence and collaborations and budgeting and so forth and so on. So hard skills of that stuff. But when it is, I've been asked this question, but what is the one thing I'll have to learn to be able to reach that level? And there is no one thing. There is never a one thing. It all depends on scenario, personality, soft skills, and hard skill combinations. But they all root for how do I operate as a leadership? What are my leadership skills? Being communication, management, or budgeting, planning, and so forth and so on. And okay, when we see that those are at standard, the things that we want, or we see it as an addition to what we lack, it's also a feature, we basically have a discussion. We sit down with the person and check, okay, we see your progression, we value your progression, we've seen you put effort into it, is this something that you would like to do? And if so, there is of course a bunch of paperwork that we have to go through, but within those papers there are metrics that we communicate, that we discuss what suits you and your skill set to be metrics into the future. So the option package is basically that. It allows you to buy a couple of shares on a particular rate or a calculation of a rate, and then putting it as metrics into the future for 2-3 years, depending on the metrics that are set forward. So, and then the metrics are discussed. So being personal metrics, team metrics, new customer metrics, being transferring metrics. There are multiple aspects that can be discussed or can be at focus, but it will depend at any time. But the ideology is, there is something we see in you, and we want to see you progress, and these are the stepping stones to your full capability, and we will be monitoring them on the way. That's the idea.
Interesting. I'm really excited to see how it works. Like once
it's already worked. No.
Yeah, but what is it? I think it was in summer when we met. It was one person who's.
Yeah, there's one person who has finished their goals, and we've already had discussions. So
I'm curious how it goes once it's more than one people, because then you have different discussions, different KPIs, leading to the same way. So I'm curious to follow up on that.
Yes.
So let's go into those specifics. So you're talking about the teamwork, right? How that is important, how everything is built around that. Everything should be accommodating an environment where it's easy to share with each other, collaborate, and so on. So can we talk about some specific rituals, some specific rules that you have, like collaboration rules or whatever? So something very tangible that you work with at Maven to actually walk the talk and work together as a team or teams.
Teams, and it's good that you put the S at the very end, because there are multiple teams and a person can actually be at one team you can be a leader, and another team that you're basically a specialist. So we have a customer-centric team setup. So every team is designed around the customer, and there's always a team leader defined at each point, and we have open discussions with our customers based on, for this current period, this is the team leader, this is the person you will be most contact with, this will be the participants of the team. When we reach a particular goal, the responsibility will be transferred to another person that will have the discussions, and so forth and so on. So there is a clear set rule book of who is at what state at every customer, and then of course there are cross office manager with a cross-reference support, and then of course me at the very bottom of having a cross-functional assistance as a CEO in a sense. And yes, the setup that we have is basically rooted into software engineering and software development processes. So Agile and Scrum methodologies are basically what we use, but rather than having daily stand-ups, rather than having 2-week sprints and so forth, we look at things in a manner of being weekly meetings, weekly stand-ups is a sense, and the sprints are usually set up for a month or even 2 months. Because we basically because we are multi-team functions and we have multiple customers, it would never make sense to have stand-ups every day, because then you'd probably lose focus. So the weekly setup is what we do. And that forces us to discussion, set targets, set goals, discuss past, talk about the future, look into our backlog, look into our sprint sprint planning stuff, and so forth and so on. What we've not been too good to do is retro. You would think that even though we're open-minded about mistakes, we would have retros at the very root of our stuff, but we've been lacking those. We've done those, and when we've done them, they've been a success. So retros, they are coming.
Why have you not have that from the get-go as a standard? All the projects?
Basically, being busy would be my simplest answer.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the allowing us to sit down and discuss positives and negatives never came up on a project base, on a project basis, because we've always been looking at that continuous wheel and continuous development, continuous improvement ideology. That this has never been a stopping point, but it is there. It is coming. We've introduced it with multiple teams, a couple of teams. We've done it for a couple of projects as well, and in those occasions, it's good. So we will be introducing them.
So why did you introduce them first time?
Because it was the first project that we had a clear setup. It was the first project we wanted to frame our processes in completely. It was the first project where we discussed, hey, here's a customer, here's a project, here is an end goal of that particular project, here is a projected future. When the first part of the project is done, the responsibility will be transferred from me to you. And when that responsibility has been transferred, you will be in control. You will have, you will be in direct contact. You will have the staff. You will be the one who assigns tasks and so forth. So it was at that point. It was kind of a, hey, we set clear rules, clear boundaries, clear setup. Let's have a clear discussion of how we can make this process better. That was the reason. It was more set to stone, the time period, than we've done before, because it was always continuous. Yeah.
And why was that the success? You said whenever we did it, it was a success.
Because the success, well, in the occurrence of retros, it's not necessarily the actionable, tangible output that you look into. It's more the safe space yet again. It's more the safe space of allowing us to review and pinpointing things. Hey, I think we should have done this differently. I like the thing that we did around this. It really worked well, and I really liked working with you. So pinpointing those, both from a lifting people up or pinpointing actions that we should have done differently, was the outcome of that, and the discussion we allow is the success that I root for. So basically, having an open dialogue, having the opportunity to allow us to discuss these things, that's the success. I even took some notes for that particular meeting that I was reviewing. I think it was yesterday or the day before. And I always thought that I want to keep these notes, but there was nothing tangible in them. There was no action items for anyone to work with, because it was more in a sense, now my responsibility is done. There are others that will take the client relationships and the project progression forward. And that is a success in a sense as well.
How do you create that safe space? You mentioned a couple of times now, so what have you been doing that you can pinpoint, like, okay, this has helped? Maybe having these phrases, maybe it is having this particular meeting, some ritual, whatever it is. What is that helps you with the space?
yet again, probably too common to even say, but it maybe is not that common at all. Being vulnerable yourself, allowing you to discuss your own mistakes and your own learnings and your own findings. Because it's never the case that what you produced is the most perfect result, but you're always ready to improve. That's the key. And if you have that mindset, it doesn't matter if you're a CEO, if you're a specialist, if you're a leader, if you're a manager or director, or whatever title you have. If you can have that feature, and you can wear it, you can show it, you're a leader.
Does it come easy to you?
Yeah. I've gone through things. I've gone through things that allow me to be vulnerable today. I'm a competitive person. I've been so for a long time. I've always looked at things that I need to do better, I need to be quicker, I need to be faster. There's a joke that I usually said, I never walked in high school, I always ran, because I had to be at the next place faster than the next one, and so forth and so on. I'll say yes to this question because it is there today, but it's not the case that I've always had the feature. So it's a development. I learned it the hard way.
So can you share some of those learnings? Because so many leaders are struggling with that. They want to be more vulnerable, but they don't know how to start, how to practice. What was your journey there?
Well, I can relate a lot of stuff to the point where I overworked myself. I can relate to a lot of the stuff that I had to open myself with my work, my psychologist myself. I had to discuss hard topics. I had to discuss multiple things in that sense. But it was never a hard discussion in a sense. It was more pushing yourselves to allow the discussion to happen, and being asked questions that force you to look things in a different way. I can say that there are two persons in my life that I often call, even though at my highest and at my lowest I can always discuss things, and those are my parents. And those discussions teach you a lot. But the point basically being, you can go deep, but the point basically being, none of us is perfect. I was told that I was a perfectionist. I'm the one, I would always have to have my desk clean, I have to have all my to-dos done, I have to come back to a clean desk and open mind. I was overthinking stuff. It went so far that I couldn't sleep. I was overthinking stuff overnight. I was replaying conversations. I was replaying scenarios. I was putting things into different perspectives. I wanted to have all the answers for the future. I was playing scenarios. A lot of stuff for a fun point. There's a lot of stuff from Inside Out version 2. A lot of the anxiety stuff that she shows, replaying and creating scenarios, so the imaginary part of you is creating all of the scenarios basically to be prepared. It's a really cool part of the movie that shows what happened for me. But I learned to relax, I learned to stop, I learned to enjoy the moment, and the stuff that I do today will still be good, even though I show up for a messy desk the day after.
This is so hard for some of my clients. It's incredibly hard to let go of some things and okay, let it be messy, let it be imperfect and so on. So how did you learn that? And you mentioned a psychologist, which is quite a taboo topic here in Iceland.
Yes.
Especially when I talk to male leaders. they would even about coaching, like before I used the mind shifter, I would say, okay, this is a bit of like leadership coaching, and they're like, coach, I don't need a coach, I'm not a freak, and let alone going to psychology or psychiatry. So how did you get to that? What was your entrance point to having someone professional to discuss your challenges, and how was that experience for you?
It was a really good experience. I highly recommend it. It was yet again a discussion of safe space and safe discussions, but despite that, despite all of those points, it was, I mean, the mistakes you do are the ones you should learn from. I've done many. You don't have to count them. I don't have enough fingers. But I overworked. I overspent my energy. I didn't recharge. I didn't rethink, and I didn't value what I was. And my stress, my temper, and you could basically say my aura was not at a good space, and it affected both family, co-workers, myself, and I want to avoid that. I don't want to go there again.
You have such a strong presence, so I can imagine that when you were out of balance and overworked and stressed, as you say, that was very having a very strong effect on people around you.
Afterwards, I was very narrow-minded at that point. I always said, how the F can that be? People don't have to use my energy for their energy, and those kind of discussions. I mean, I was very narrow-minded in a sense that I didn't believe that a presence of one can affect so much that it would hurt people's entire days, in a sense. But you live and you learn.
So how do you recharge your batteries? You said that that's something that you've learned. That you're taking care of that a bit more intentionally right now. And also
I should still do it more. Okay. I'll have to say that I've allowed myself into an atmosphere of being overworked. But yet again, there are a couple of portions of the week or portion of the days that I basically earmark them for me time.
And what is me time for you?
Home.
Being home.
Home.
Alone with family?
Yeah, being home. Discussions, wife, kids, parents. I value a lot of the discussions I've had with my parents through these hard times. And multiple friends that I can trust. And I've had these discussions. There are not many friends that know this story, so making the story public is one milestone yet again, into the right direction, I hope. So yeah, learned the hard way, but outdoors is always what it's something that I've always liked since I was small, since I was a kid. I was a scout, I walked on mountains, I have high energy, so being around I worked at a farm for many years, loved that. So camping and staying outdoors. But sometimes just transferring the camper to a different location and sleep is also okay.
I have to explore all the peaks around, huh?
Yeah, so allowing yourself the time to relax, even if it's just a movie, even if it's just the portion of your time that you want to stay in bed and watch on Netflix. Remember, you need it. Your body is telling you something. Listen to it, and you need it. Because the day after, you'll need the energy again.
I think it's a beautiful reminder and permission to the Genius Leaders to wrap up with.
Yeah.
Whatever we're building, whichever stage we are at, we still need to rest.
Yes.
No matter how much energy we have.
No matter how many. And wherever you are, at what point you're in, you always have to remember, relax. I tried yoga, I tried a lot of stuff, it didn't suit me in a sense. Sitting still is not my cup of tea. But yet, so the thing my psychologist always said, that what you need is a teaspoon of selflessness. So you need it. And what she meant by it was basically be selfish. So selfish. Be selfish towards yourself. That was her point. So allow yourself to enjoy the moment, even though the moment is just you sitting down with a book, knitting, staying at home, and the hobby that you like. But I'm that fortunate that my work today is my hobby as well. So what I sometimes do, I'm also recharging even though I'm doing work. And that's a hard one to swallow.
Yeah, that's something I would have a different conversation about. So does it mean that you have no hobbies?
No. Sorry for that.
No. You don't be sorry. That's also part of the truth, right? That sometimes those things are difficult to separate, and the line is blurry. And as long as you're aware of it and the potential dangers that come with that, and you're keeping the finger on the pulse there, how is that going? Is it still my hobby? Is it still recharging me? Or has it gone into, again, being a perfectionist and just overthinking things and so on? As long as you keep the understanding of yourself in there, I think it's fine.
But yeah, that is the key. You have to be aware. So being selfish is of course okay, but be selfish towards yourself in a sense. When you feel that you need the energy, just take the rest.
Usually, I would recommend to actually get it into the habit.
and even so.
Don't wait until you need the energy. You feel it because that's usually way too late.
Yeah. That's actually a good one as well. That's okay. But my point being is that that's the aspect also of the team ideology. Is that even though when you need it, there's someone behind you that will back you up. You are not the one. You're not the one and only. You are not alone in the world. You're not alone to do it. The company will not fall if I just sleep, etc. You have someone around you that will assist you, support you, and show, grab the things that will fall if something will fall. And we need that. You need to know that there is someone else around you, and you need to be able to let go. I can say, I mean, the one thing that we had in a discussion, we had a Dale Carnegie come to us for 3 Fridays in a row, not too long ago. And one of the points that came from there is basically me being one of my things that I need to work on is the allowing me to let go more often than not. And in some cases it's true, in other cases it's not. But the point was taken, in a sense that there are tasks, and I have to have an open mind to the tasks that people want to take on, and just allowing it to go, and overthinking it, and allowing that to stay, and then rather ask questions and check in, and allowing it to not go into the bad spots of it. So I need to learn that.
I'm happy to catch you up on that as the follow-up conversation, because now I know that we're out of time. But I would be happy to bring you back on the show at some point later on, some month in, so that when you have already practiced that, and then we can dive deeper into like, okay, what does it mean for you to let go? When is it not relevant, etc.
Yeah, if always happy to come. And thank you for having me.
Helgi, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for finding time. It's been a couple of months in the making for us. And finally it's happening, so thank you so much. And
thank you too.
Let's keep building this friendship.
Thank you. I hope you will.
And to you genius leaders listening, I want to remind you as always that I see you, I feel you, I love you, and I do believe that you can build a team that supports you so that you can let go. Take care and talk to you next week.